Have you ever heard about VDA5050?
Are you also confused by this mysterious term?
This is why Automation Awakenings is here in Dortmund at the Testcamp Intralogistics to meet the VDA5050 family and to get a look behind the scenes.
So our job now will be to track down the top voices in the community to provide you with all the informations and backgrounds you need to understand what the VDA 5050 standard is and what it does.
Automation Awakenings, your weekly dose of best practices for logistics automation.
We have to start our journey already before with mobile robots. Companies started their automation activities with one HV or AMR from one vendor. They're happy with it and they would like to scale. They would like to add another HV from another vendor. But what happens if these two mobile robots meet on the same shop floor? They will recognize themselves as moving obstacles, actually, and we need a solution for that. Here, the VDA 5050 comes into play. And Matthias, I'm sure you found the perfect expert to talk about it, right?
Indeed, Olli. I'm standing here next to Mr. Sascha Schmel from the VDMA, the Mechanical Engineering Industry Association. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Sascha, what is the VDA 5050 standard?
Yeah, as it's already in the name, it's a standard. It's a standard describing the interface between the mobile robots and the fleet control instance, the software that is controlling that whole action. And that used to be a unique solution from the manufacturer providing usually the vehicle together with the software to control it. And the development of the VDA 5050 made it possible, as we can see in the back, that we have one fleet controller operating 8 vehicles at the same time.
So I guess you already provided the answer to my second question, which is actually why is this standard so important in the context of mobile robot usage? And I understand it's mostly about traffic management and the control of those different vehicles that are from different providers.
Exactly, but it goes even so. The purpose, maybe that's the purpose. That's describing the purpose very, very good. But the result, we can feel that it goes beyond. We see that with that setup, automation gets a lot easier. The hurdles and the bottlenecks are more and more disappearing. So customers who were not thinking of automatization in that scale are now able to jump in the topic because it's a lot easier than it used to be in the old days before VDA 5050. So this really enables to make mobile robotics great or big or huge or to scale it up, whatever. And of course, it's a tremendous boost for efficiency because it were the simple things that made life hell. If you have different fleet controllers, you ended up with having different tracks. So you needed more or less double or 3 times the space that we knew now. Of course, you have some kind of, well, it's not really a jam, it's a waiting period, but it's all in one line.
Perfect. The last question to you, Sascha, who develops the VDA 5050 standard?
Yeah, the VDA 5050 standard is an open source project. So there is a community, a huge community. Certainly core of that community is the VDMA members together with VDA still, who were giving the name at the one hand and giving very, very valuable impulses in the first or in the first time of the development, of course. But now it is getting a bigger and bigger community. So we have the Intralogistics 2X working group, which is open to every kind of customer, to every kind of user, to every kind of institution that wants to get in the dialogue and help developing. So I would say it's really the biggest community that we could create. We are about to create.
Thank you so much. After talking about the VDA5050 standard now, let's take also a closer look at the Testcamp Intralogistics. In the introduction, we have mentioned that it's a special event because so many members from the VDA5050 are meeting here. So let's go and talk to the organizers and find out why this event is so special.
Yes, Matthias, thank you very much. I'm here actually with the manager of the Testcamp Intralogistics, Thilo Jörgel. So welcome to our podcast. Great that you're here with us.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, cool. So directly the first question, what is so special from your point of view about the Testcamp Intralogistics?
Well, the name says it's a test camp, so people come here for testing innovations only. We say we have one hall, we have 100 innovations on 10,000 square meters, and it's all about intralogistics and robotics and automation. That is the topic, and we invite, and also the exhibitors invite high-ranked people, C-level, but also people that are responsible for budgets and for intralogistics innovations, and they can try out on a test area, drive forklifts, interact with robots, or get demonstrations. So it's all about testing and interacting. And yeah, we only have innovation, so we don't concentrate on other things. And we're a test camp, and we also have a conference with more than 30 speakers. So you get all the latest trends about intralogistics, automation, and so on in our conference.
That sounds amazing. And I already seen somewhere and there the VDA 5050 topic popping up. So where can we see VDA 5050 in action here?
Yeah, actually, the world premiere of the VDA5050 testing was here in Dortmund 4 years ago, and now the agv-meshup is still in this hall for the fourth time. It's 10 different companies and one steering software. So the idea was 4 years ago that companies who have fleets from different manufacturers, they have one coordinating system, and they connect the fleets together, and then they steer all these HEVs and AMRs under one system, and they have different tasks, and that's what they are doing. They have developed all that VDA5050 communication interfaces over the years, so it's getting more complex. They have more topics now here, and it's for the fourth time, and it's really a unique place, and it's under our roof in the test camp.
That sounds very interesting. I think we should have a deeper look into that. Of course. And here I would like to hand over back to Matthias. Can you find some experts in the agv-meshup?
Sure, Ali. I'm actually standing next to the organizers of the agv-meshup. One of them is Juliane Kluge from the VDMA. Good to have you, Juliane.
Thank you.
And Juliane is the perfect person to actually ask what the agv-meshup is all about.
So we started in 2021 with the first agv-meshup, and the goal was actually to show that VDA5050 is working. So the first practical test of the interface, and since then we are looking forward to develop the interface further to give participants these are all member companies of VDMA, the opportunity to test it with their vehicles or with their software, in a kind of safe room or safe space.
Like a nice testing environment they get.
Exactly.
Great. You're already talking about the participants. So who from software side and who from hardware side is taking part in this year's mashup?
Yes, the fleet manager is from Synaos this year. It's actually the second time here in Dortmund that Senaos host the agv meshup with the software. And this year we have vehicles from Daimler Partner and Siemens together. That's one vehicle.
Yeah.
We have Bosch Rexroth, we have Jungheinrich, KUKA, Omron, we have Still and SafeLog. And who did I miss? And we have a vehicle from Fraunhofer EML.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Perfect. So really a lot of different AGVs and AMRs that are moving around here. So actually the last question that I have is how the participants are actually able to prepare for this setup, for this testing.
Yeah, so we start 3 or 4 months before such an event, or we try to do that actually. And all the participants discuss together which showcase they want to show actually. So this the driving scenario, which processes and handling situations and stuff like that. And then they start. So now set up a virtual simulation for all of the participants. And so they tested it either with their real vehicles on site with their companies or with a virtual vehicle.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Perfect. But it means a lot of work that was put into this preparation.
Yes.
A lot of alignment, a lot of onboarding, which was done prior to this event. And this really makes me very curious to go and talk to some of the providers, some of the participants, to learn their lessons learned and to find out what they think about the VDA5050. So moving on and talking to my next partner, which is going to be the colleagues from Senaos. So here I am in the engine room of the VDA5050, at least here at the agv meshup. And together with me is Lennart Bochmann, one of the managing directors of Senaos. Lennart, thanks for being here with us in the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Matthias.
And one of the major questions that our listeners have is, after weeks or days of preparation for the agv meshup, what are the major challenges that you guys encountered in connecting all of these different vehicles according to VDA5050 standards?
Yes, sure. So first of all, basically, it's of course it's a process over weeks, but looking at the commissioning and really the work, it's rather days than weeks, to be honest. So it's really a fast process. Challenges, I think, of course, there's like an organizational challenge. There are like 8 different vendors plus us as a software system. You need to coordinate yourself. You need to manage. You need to set up the whole processes and stuff like this. So there's management of coordination and also setting up the processes that everything will be running smoothly. Who is allowed to drop off where and what to do. And secondly, also on the technical side, of course, you need to talk about VDA5050, about different versions, about onboarding, how do you communicate, how do you interpret some different stuff. Are there any additions you need to have because your vehicle needs to have something else or something on top? So those are topics you need to cover during this process.
Someone once told me that the VDA5050 is obviously a communication standard, but it's a bit similar to a language, like for example, German or I don't know, Italian, and it has a lot of different dialects basically. And different parts of the country wouldn't necessarily understand each other because the dialect is so different. Is that something that holds true with the AGVs and AMRs here?
Well, I wouldn't say it's completely different language or dialects. So it's really the VDA5050 is progressing. So it's really getting more and more advanced. Stuff is added, and also, of course, gaps or loopholes where you had some room for interpretations. This, of course, gets now defined, gets aligned, and then it works for everybody. So, of course, there are still some things you need to align, and you can say, okay, you can do it left or right, and you need to decide in a project or when you talk to a vendor, are you doing it left or right, and are we doing it the same way? But in general, it's progressing. And what's, I think, also really important to understand it, as you said, it's communication. So it's really only the communication, a lot of functions. And this is also something I see often that people think about, okay, VDA5050 is limiting, for example, the processes I can do with it or something. But that's not really related to VDA5050 because it's only the communication. But when you talk about processes, it's rather something which is on the vehicle or even the shop floor system, the management system needs to cover. So you always need to be sure that VDA5050 is just the part in between.
Okay, that's good to know. And my last question now, with the learnings that you had here and all of the experience you collected, would you say that we can copy and paste such a complex use case into industrial environment and run it in daily operations, or is the VDA5050 not yet mature enough to do that?
Well, so from my perspective, it's definitely mature enough. So we have more than 50 installations live with mobile robots, all based on VDA5050, different vendors in a fleet. So yes, it's there. Of course, it's still now map exchange is coming on top. Then AMR integration with zones and corridors is coming on top. So there's a lot to come, and still things you need to improve. But from our perspective, it's definitely ready to go, and you can rely on it during your operations.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lennart.
Thanks, Matthias.
And after talking to a software provider here with Synaos, I know, Olli, you are having someone from the hardware side. So let's jump over to you and learn about their challenges and lessons learned.
Yes, thank you, Matthias, for giving us all these insights on the software side. And now I'm happy to be on the hardware side. And together with me is Lukas Liebrenz from Bosch Rexroth. And Bosch, they have here an own AMR.
Yes.
It's controlled by VDA5050 through Synaos. And Lukas, thank you for joining us in the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, I'm interested now until this is running, until the AMR is really manageable by VDA5050 in such a holistic fleet management. I'm sure there's a lot of preparation required. If you think about this phase now, before the agv-meshup, what were the main challenges for you?
So normally for this kind of onboarding, talking about onboarding from or via VDA5050 into a holistic fleet management system, there are a lot of things to do. Actually, for this mashup in 2024, it was less effort for us because we are already compatible with Synaos. So we have already customers which are using Synaos with our active shuttle. And therefore, at least for the mashup, there was no effort. But in general, we had the onboarding. Onboarding our VDA5050 robot into Synaos fleet management, and there is a lot to do. So initially, we had to concentrate especially on this gray zones because the VDA5050 standard, it's good, but it's not completed yet. So there are a lot of gray zones, for example, when we are talking about our display. So the display from Active Shuttle, it's really big and it gives the user the chance to solve problems, even if the user is not trained. For example, if it's in a deadlock, there is an instruction on the display how to solve this deadlock. Easy example. But this is very specialized for our robot. But the customer really loves this benefit of our robot. It's not inside the VDA5050 standard, so therefore the fleet management system has kind to solve it.
Okay.
And therefore, if we have a project, it's really important to involve the customer. We have to involve fleet management provider so that we can have a solution which everybody is happy with. This is really important. So close contact, customer and fleet management system. And that's one of the challenges, to minimize these gray zones and that everyone is happy with the interpretation of the standard.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so I feel that we are not yet 100% ready with the VDA5050 standard, but now I see here all the AGVs and AMRs running around already next to each other, and it looks pretty smooth. So from your point of view, can we copy this demo setup into a real productive environment on a shop floor, or are we not yet ready?
So on one hand, we already have customers which are using Active Shuttle via the VDA5050 standard and fleet management of their choice. There are modern Synaos, there are different kind of fleet management systems, and it's working, and they're happy. But if we are starting to count these robots, at some point you start with one robot, and at some point you will have 5. And we all know that the area in production will get less and less, lower and lower, and therefore we need the space and we need to use it effectively. And this is a point where we, from Active Shuttle side, we said that we need this kind of obstacle avoidance.
Mhm.
So AMR functionalities. And there is still, or this is still not defined in the standard. So in VDA5050, it's not standardized how to handle obstacle avoidance zones. And so this is still missing. And it's a big benefit for the customers. What we are showing here today is like our solution, how we would develop the standard, how to use or how to standardize this obstacle management inside the standard. And for us, it's working well today. So we are discussing the solution in the committee in May. And maybe the decision will be made on our side, and we will have a new kind of standard, and this obstacle avoidance thing will be solved.
Okay. Lukas, thank you very much for this exciting insights and especially the lessons learned.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, yeah, thank you for sharing. And yeah, after hearing all of these voices, I think we should meet again, Matthias, and have a short wrap up, right?
So, we're at the end of our investigation today at the podest over the agv-meshup. Really impressive view, I would say, with all of these vehicles
actually right behind
moving
us.
around. And it's been a very insightful day, I would say.
Absolutely.
So as you suggested, Olli, time for a little wrap up, for a little conclusion.
Yes, absolutely. So for me, this mysterious term, VDA5050, here it's tangible, it's visible, and you can see what it actually does and what it enables.
Exactly, and to see it from the technical side, you can say it's basically a communication standard between a fleet management software, also called master control, and individual AGV or AMR vehicles who now can be connected to this fleet management software and of course steered in terms of traffic management, in terms of order management, etc.
And another very important message is that the VDA5050 is ready to be used.
Exactly. So what we learned from our talks is that there are use cases out there with multiple mobile robot fleets that are already controlled via the VDA5050. We have to smile because in the background the after show party already starts, but that shouldn't stop us from a conclusion.
Right.
So back to the VDA5050. Yes, it is ready for usage in industrial environment. It is already used there actually, but it still has a couple of gray zones, a couple of holes, so to say, which are to be filled, but which today are still to be aligned in each and every rollout project between the customer, so a manufacturing company, for example, between the AGV or AMR supplier, and between the master control software provider. And I think communication and alignment is key for a successful project. So make sure you understand that the VDA5050 is not a one-stop shop yet. So you have to put some effort and some time into the adaptation of it into your specific use case.
Yes, so we hope that after our podcast and our insights here from Dortmund, from the Testcamp Intralogistics, you now understand better what is behind the VDA5050 and what it's capable of.
Right. I would say for us, it's time for a beer.
Yes, please. I'm looking forward to it.
Same here. Otherwise, we thank you for joining this episode. See you back next Monday for another episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. If you want to get a written summary of all our podcast content, make sure to either visit our website at www.automation.com, automationawakenings.com, or to follow us on LinkedIn, because we post these summaries each and every week.
Yes, that's for sure. And I would say let's have a look to the after show party, Matthias.
Let's do it. Take care,
Yes.
guys.
Goodbye
Enjoy.
from Dortmund.
This was another episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. Visit us at automation-awakenings.com.